All right, everybody. Good afternoon. Can people hear me?
I
Yeah,
can.
Yep.
yeah.
All right. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for the Spinitron Q A. My name's James Inge. I'm a co-host and producer of that Driving Beat radio show here at WXOX in Louisville. We play old soul, rhythm and blues, 45 singles, and talk about them and talk about digging for records and the groups and the labels and everything. And we're thrilled to have a place on a radio station to do that. We're also Spinitron users, of course, as probably a lot of people listening are. I want to thank our sponsors, Spinitron, of course, SCMS Broadcast Equipment Solutions, Mad Pixel Art and Design here in Louisville, Broadcast Tool and Die, the Pacifica Network, the law office of Michael W. Richards, and WXOX here, our host station. You can find out more information about those sponsors at the virtualgrc.org website. We've got links and everything to all that on there. This is a fairly short session today, so I don't want to waste too much more time. I'm going to turn it over to Eva Papp and Tom Worster from Spinitron to take questions, and I think they're going to start out just with a little introduction, and then we will take questions after that. If you want to ask a question, you can go into the chat and say that you have a question, and I will call on people, and you can unmute, and we'll see how that works. But with that, here's Eva Papp and Tom Worster.
Yeah, you can start.
Hello, everybody. Happy GRC. I guess this is day 3. So I've heard it's been going great. So Spinitron, in case there's anybody here who doesn't know what it is, we're a website that provides a sort of a Web 2.0 way to manage the playlists on your your station's playlists, what music you play on the radio, keep logs of what music you play on the radio. That all goes into a database, and you can publish that on the web, get it integrated into your stream, push it to Twitter, things like that. But it's also there for the database of everything you've played is also there for reporting purposes, which is useful for copyright, but also if you want to make charts, things like that. There's also a program schedule in there, so the program schedule is fairly dynamic. That can be integrated into your website as well, and DJ profiles. So these things can be kept in Spinitron and then manage them using the tools that we provided, and that can go onto your website, and whenever you change it in Spinitron, it gets updated on your website too. We've, for a year or so, maybe more, we've integrated music recognition, automatic music recognition. There's a system where we partnered with a company called ACR Cloud. They've got some fancy technology and an enormous database of fingerprints, audio fingerprints, of songs, like 60 million songs or something.
72.
70, it keeps going up, of course.
Yeah.
So what they do is they connect to listen to your stream, so to your webcast. So they listen to your webcast as though they were, any other listener, but they're running this algorithm every 10 seconds. They run the fingerprinter on the last 10 seconds and decide what it is you've been playing on the radio. And if they recognize it, then it's not in your playlist yet. Then we get a message and it goes into your playlist. So that's pretty neat. That's actually been particularly important during our COVID lockdown, as people have been using a lot more pre-recorded shows. It works well for that.
Yeah.
What else is new?
We are also working on, I don't know if any of you or some of you might have used Radio Free America in the past. Unfortunately, about a month ago, they went out of business. And we are working on, especially he's working on the coding of trying to come up with a solution that could replace their services. It's not done yet, but we are working on it. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
Yeah, we've got about 10 stations testing it at the moment. Got a whole bunch of details to sort out before we can really offer it to everybody commercially.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, I don't want to waste anybody's time with that, but we'll be happy to, you know, narrow it down if you want to give us a call about it later. It looks like we got the first question. So is a Spinitron a competitor with Pacifica Confessor as far as reporting music to Sound Exchange? We never considered ourselves as a competition, but yes, we do overlapping things, including playlist logging and managing playlist in a form that is suitable for Sound Exchange reporting. So I don't know if you can really call it competition,
Well,
because we
yes.
never really went against each other. We coexisted very peacefully, and there were never really hostile feelings between.
Well, I wouldn't call it competition. To be more particular, it's Spinitron started off as basically a web publishing service. I was a DJ at WZVC, and I was writing my playlists down using a pen on a piece of paper. I thought that was ridiculous. I should type it into a computer so that it can go online immediately. So that's where Spinitron came from. Only later did the copyright reporting thing become a bigger deal. And so, yes, that's been an important part of what we've done since then. But you know, it's not the primary objective of Spinitron, in my opinion. We must have lots of questions. Come on, there we go.
Yeah,
if you don't have a question,
anyone
would going to talk.
If there's anyone who would just want to unmute themselves and ask the question directly at this point, since we don't have any more in the chat, go ahead.
Right, we didn't prepare a presentation. We wanted to keep it informal, to you know, custom tailored for each individual question. But if you want to have a slideshow about Sound Exchange reporting, we can do that too.
Oh, it's so boring now. I mean, it's important.
It's
a lot of people,
but
a lot of people have a lot of questions about that. So feel free.
So I have a question for you guys. You were mentioning I think it's a recent update to the Spinitron where you have something that can listen to the music and identify which song it is, and then generate a written playlist off of that. Is that what you're saying? And where does that go? How do you set that up? Is that something that's automatically happening, or
no,
do I need to go in as a user and set up my own, you know, place for that to happen?
No, it's sorry.
It's a simple setup.
Okay. It's okay.
You had your pocket zipped up, did you?
Oh my God, you've done it now.
So the answer to that is we will set that up for you. It's a simple setup that simply requires the connection. We need the stream URL. That's basically it. So we put the stream URL into Spinitron and set it up, and then you manage it from there. And it does cost extra though. The technology itself is no small thing, and it's a $19 a month extra fee on top of the normal, whatever you're normally paying for Spinitron.
Yeah, but we can let you try it out for a couple of weeks at least to make your educated decision or what's best.
That sounds really good.
And DJs can still customize it. If they want to suspend the audio recognition during their show, they can do that. So it's it's enabled by default for the whole station, and individual DJs can manipulate it the way they feel like it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, another question. Let me read it out. A how-to question. I have a playlist for a show coming up. How do I set it to spin the tracks automatically at the appropriate time and not push play manually?
Put the timestamps in advance. Well, that's one answer. So if you have your program set up in advance, let's say that you've recorded 1 hour of programming and you're going to deliver that to the station so that they play it out. Then you know what time each spin is going to start, and you can simply put that timestamp into Spinitron, and Spinitron will publish the song and push it out. Well, publish the spin online, and will push it out to whatever metadata push channels you're using at that time. So it's set up so that if you have things organized in advance, or if you have your playlists organized in advance, then that will work. The other option for that is you can use recognition. So so for example, a station locally here, the station that I used to volunteer at, WZBC, when they were no longer allowed to, when nobody was allowed access to the station anymore, they quickly set up an automation system, and then they got DJs from the alumni network, all people who have been DJs there over many years, activated that network and got them all to, well, got a whole bunch of people to do a regular show just by producing it at home or wherever they produce the program, upload it. And then the rest of it is taken care of by the recognition. So when the song gets played out, the recognition picks that up and puts it into the playlist. If a DJ cares enough to try and make sure that everything about the recognition is perfectly accurate, then they can monitor that process as it goes along and make any corrections as it goes. And they can also use the chat feature, which is it's a nice thing to to have for your listeners. It's another online chat, an interactive feature for listeners and the DJ to enjoy during the program. There's another question there.
Question: is there any way to keep Spinitron music recognition from putting music from promos and program themes into a playlist? Our most played song each week is the Democracy Now! Theme.
Yeah,
well,
common problem.
Yes, that is the perfect example. If you have Democracy Now! In your schedule, while you are setting up the schedule, you can actually suspend audio recognition for the whole
Can
show.
I do it quickly to try doing a share screen thing? Yeah. Is that going to be allowed? Host is disabled.
Yes, go on. Is it not letting you share screen?
Oh, you'll have to allow that first.
Let's see.
Sure, you've done that before.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the thing to allow that.
Well, I can just talk about it then. There are 3 ways to tackle this. One of them is to disable recognition in the program schedule. So if you have 5 one-hour blocks a week for Democracy Now! And if you have them in the program schedule, then go in and disable the recognition for that program. And so during that time slot then, so long as you are accurate in your time and you don't play the Democracy Now! Theme 30 seconds before the top of the hour, for example, then that will work. Another way is for DJs. This wouldn't be suitable for Democracy Now!, but it can be suitable for other kinds of programs. Individual DJs can disable recognition for the duration of their playlist in personal preferences. So what that means is that if you, for example, if a DJ only does a talk show and they just don't want any music logged into Spinitron, then they can set that in their personal profile and then create a playlist. So long as they create a Spinitron playlist, for the duration of that playlist, there won't be any recognition. And finally, you can just delete the spins. That's not the ideal way of doing it, but it does work.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, if you've got a music program and you've got bed music, or you've got music involved in a promo that gets played, and you don't want those things in the playlists that are published online, then the options aren't that great. I mean, that music is going to be recognized. So if you, the simplest thing really is just delete it after the fact. Actually, the even simpler thing than that is just allow it. But if you don't want it, delete it after the fact. Or you can do what I just mentioned before, is if the DJ is prepared to go through this procedure, disable the recognition in playlist preferences before playing the promo, and then enable it again afterwards.
Tom, you should be able to share your screen.
Yeah, all I was going to do was show where that feature in Spinitron is for the people who are used to using Spinitron.
Oh, right on. Okay.
Actually, I want to do. Yeah, that looks like the right thing. So let's say I'll quickly show you the playlist preference. To show you. Oh, actually, it doesn't work here because in this station I don't have. What's your station? Give me a station. All right, I know what I'll do. Go to the station dashboard and I choose WZBC so that I can pretend to be an admin at WZBC. And if I were to go in and create a playlist, I could show you that the the checkbox, but let's look at it in the schedule instead. So here's Democracy Now!, edit this program, and this is the checkbox you check to disable the automation or recognition for the duration of that program. And that's on 5 times a week at that time of day. So it will be, so with that one checkbox, you've accomplished what you wanted to do for that, at least for that program.
Yeah, I'm aware that it's a problem because when I put together the weekly chart, Democracy Now! Is definitely among the first 25.
Yeah, that's one of that's definitely in the top 25 regularly.
Yeah, but I just ignore it. So, but anyway, does it answer your question?
I hope so.
Okay.
We'll move on to the next question anyway.
Okay.
So you've been playing Undercurrents and the recognition rarely works for it. Could it be due to DJ being set up as automation, not as a user? Probably not. Should we make an account for the program? It may not be that. This is worth checking into. There can be an issue with pre-prepared programming that is technical reason why the recognition isn't working for it. And this has come up a few times. And I believe there can be more than one reason for it, but one that's definitely happened more than once is if a pitch shift or time shift has been used in the programming, then this can throw the recognition algorithm off completely. So for example, if you were preparing a radio program that needs to be for technical reasons, it needs to be exactly 59.5 minutes long, so that it fits a planned schedule for play out in automation. And so how do you make a program that fits exactly that length? There are a few ways to do it, but one of them is you finish making a radio program that's approximately that long, and then time stretch it or pitch shift it just a little bit to make it fit exactly. And I know some producers do this, and for recognition, it causes a problem. Now, there's a way around it that we can enable, but it uses a lot more computing power in the recognition. So we try to avoid this problem rather than enable that solution. But that could be it. And if you're experiencing a situation with recognition where a particular program or a particular DJ is regularly having an inexplicable problem with hardly anything's being recognized, there's probably something technical going on and we should investigate it. So in that case, come to us and we'll look into that one. What we need to do really is get a copy of an audio copy, and we'll send it to ACR Cloud and let them analyze it, and they'll give us an answer as to what's going on.
Yeah, they have been pretty responsive with us.
In fact,
they have been. They also, if
let the forum. Yes, but let me first introduce the forum.
Okay.
So if I go back to my web browser and share the screen again, so let's hope you can all see this. Yeah. In Spinitron, there is a link up here. It's also available on the public site to our forum. This is a user discussion forum where people can ask questions and get support, or just ask questions, get answers from the community or from me. We're both monitoring this closely. Yeah. And so this is actually a good place to get support if you don't mind it being public. You're certainly free to give us a call or to send an email. If you don't want to use the forum, that's fine, it's up to you. But Peng from ACR Cloud is on the forum as well, so he can answer questions there directly and has been fairly useful.
That's the automatic music recognition.
Yeah, we've got a whole category of stuff there. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to show you, there's the forum. If you want to join that, please feel free. The more people take part in this forum, the more the community can sort of support itself with knowledge and experience. Yeah. And ideas.
Okay, we got some more questions. Yes, Jim, the hip hop samples and mashups can be a challenge too. Yes, we do understand that the audio recognition is not a bulletproof solution for everything, but if if it works most of the time, some DJs are unfortunate or unlucky enough that they still need to rely on the manual entry. They chose well, they just chose the wrong genre. Blame the DJ.
Yes, blame the DJ.
Yeah.
But seriously, it's once you think about these issues, you can realize what are strictly limitations to this that a recognition system can't possibly fix for you. So it's a cool system. The way I like to explain or I like to suggest people think about it is it's a bit like an autopilot, right? You don't get on an airplane of a couple of hundred people and just let the computer fly the plane. You have at least two on a commercial jet, at least two people on the plane capable of flying the plane without the computer. They're there to keep an eye on things. It can do most of the stuff under normal conditions. So when things are going according to plan, the computer can handle it. But you want a DJ there to keep an eye on things too.
Okay. So David says that I don't know what.
David Clan's mentioning transcoding. Just to answer that point about transcoding, that shouldn't be a problem with the recognition unless they're doing really horrid transcoding. Because it's a psychoacoustic recognition algorithm and sort of has to be file format. Codecs shouldn't make any difference at all. So what else have we got here?
Yeah, Ted says that they have a programmer who had been spinning CDs at home and the pitch shift. Yes, that will definitely,
That's best. It's best to fix that at the source, but if it's happening a lot at your station, we can enable a compensation in ACR Cloud.
Yeah. And Jennifer, how vast is the music database that the recognition tool is drawing from? The most recent update from ACR Cloud is 72 or 73 million songs.
It's worth
understanding. In 2 years, they jumped from 53 to 72, let's say.
It's worth understanding a little bit how they get their data. They're connected into a number of suppliers or the big distributors and a couple of big streaming service platforms in the digital music supply chain. So Deezer, for example, everything that gets indexed, everything that gets entered into Deezer, they will index. There's another service there, KBox, which is big in Far East, in particular in China, I think, and various stuff like that. Air disasters, yes, exactly, on-air disasters. I don't like to think about plane crashes, but on-air disasters are usually not such a big problem.
Yeah, but back to Jennifer, how about super underground music? We can't guarantee. That's why we give, although we get charged immediately when I set up a new station, I don't mind spending the money and time educating stations about it. So I'm happy to give you a 2 weeks, if you need more, even more, free trial on it to make sure that you are actually signing up to a service that you like. So you have the chance as a station to evaluate each DJ, how they respond, how they like, how they handle the audio recognition. If it fits in your general programming, that's good. If you have a lot of hip hop mashups, then it's less good for that, but you have to make an individual decision. So you have to monitor it for at least a couple of weeks.
To answer that question, though, it's not really got anything to do with whether or not the music is super underground. It's got to do whether or not it's available commercially as a digital product. If it is broadly available, like if you can go and get it from Amazon or iTunes, there's a good chance it's going to be in the index. The things that are harder to find are old recordings that were never reissued digitally. So there are some stations, some DJs, some stations that specialize in that kind of material, and there aren't any digital fingerprints of it available. So that they get it a bit harder. And obviously, stuff that's locally recorded or performed in studio, that stuff doesn't get picked up. So it's a question really of whether or not it's not that hard for a super underground band to get their stuff into all the services and all the platforms these days.
By the way, if a couple of songs are not recognized during your show, you can always enter it manually. it's you can edit and handle the playlist that the audio recognition generates exactly the same way that any other manual playlist. You can delete items, you can add, you can edit items in it, so it's no different in that sense.
So as far as Sound Exchange, we've got the question, will Sound Exchange cry foul or penalize if a song cannot be recognized? I can't answer on behalf of Sound Exchange, but I can be fairly confident no. First, there's a lot of options here. First of all, if it's not recognized, you can always type it in yourself. But the only things that so far they've been strict about with the clients, the typical clients of Spinitron, which are non-commercial stations, is that they want you to report. So they want to get reports. If the reports are incomplete, that's okay. But the main thing is that you're making a good faith effort to get as much quality into the report as you can. But no, they don't have, Spinitron doesn't have a, sorry, not Spinitron, Sound Exchange doesn't have a way to know whether or not a song was played and it wasn't reported on. They just don't have there's no way to audit that. And it wouldn't be worth their effort to try and set up a system to do that. It would be extremely expensive and wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Sound Exchange is concerned, they also don't care about the timestamps, so they wouldn't be able to line it up as you do in the playlist of what songs followed the other one. So they wouldn't know which followed what, and they just want to know how often it was played. Yeah. If you are reporting to NPR, that's a different thing, but they can't penalize. They won't penalize you if you skip a song because they don't know if you were talking during that time or did anything else.
I mean, they would have to compare some other record to your report to be able to, I mean, it's insanely complex and expensive to do that. So they just don't do it. It's just not worth trying. There was a question similar to this. If Sound Exchange reports are produced, what happens if there is no info? Will there be some indication that the show aired but no info? So if there's no info if the Sound Exchange report is empty, yeah, they'll notice, right? If there's no info in it, it'll be empty. If chunks of a material are missing, a Sound Exchange report doesn't indicate that at all. Mm-hmm. A Sound Exchange report doesn't tell you anything about when songs were played or whatever. All that matters is how often a given song was played during the report period.
Again, you have to distinguish if it's if they are.
That's a Sound Exchange report.
Yeah.
And that's true for Sound Exchange reports that come from NPR. But the reports that you send to NPR, the playlist logs that you send to NPR, if you're reporting through NPR, they do require timing.
Yeah.
But the question was specifically about Sound Exchange. So yes, they do require timing. Nevertheless, if there's a gap in there, that NPR, as far as I know, doesn't have a procedure for trying to guess whether or not that's unreported music. And it's really there's an honor system in place there. Really, that they want you to make a good faith effort to report properly, as much and as accurately as possible, and they can't really do much more.
Yeah. By the way, if you are reporting directly to Sound Exchange, they do enjoy the audio recognition reports because it contains the ISRC number. Which is much easier for them to process.
Yeah. So the recognition when it gets it right is good because it's got the ISRC and UPC. So those are good things. Actually, it doesn't know the UPC. It can guess it. There was a point. Yes. It doesn't. So some self-recorded stuff from Bandcamp. Yeah, you have to add those manually. If it doesn't have the fingerprint in it because it hasn't been indexed, then that's what's going to happen. The stuff that I've published on SoundCloud, I'm pretty sure it's not going to recognize that too, because there's like only 3 people in the world that have ever listened to them anyway. So.
And a shout out for Jim. Thank you for the kind words.
Something like WFHB. Yep. Yeah. Glad you're liking it.
Thanks.
Kind of what I was wondering. Thanks, Jennifer. Right. And David Clan, to everyone, do you or ACR accept digitized samples of copyrighted materials? Not well. It's not really, as far as they're concerned. It's not about copyrighted material. Their process is to run an algorithm over a recording, which has to be presumably delivered in some manner that's licensed, because that's a copy. And once they've got the index of it, then they get rid of that. But their relationships with the upstream providers of those recordings that they can index I don't really know anything about that, and they're going to be big bulk arrangements. They're a small company. There's about 5 or 6 of them. And they've got these technical arrangements set up so that the ingest of music for indexing is automated. And I don't know what it would be like to try and give music to them. I think the best bet is to publish the music, do whatever you would normally do to get the music published and available in as many digital markets as possible, and then hope that it's going to flow through.
So that's Laurie to Jennifer. Okay. And the next one. So I would need a listing from the DJs if I wanted to be sure all songs are reported and compared to what Spinitron gives me.
If you want to do that kind of an audit, I suppose so. I don't know why you would spend your time doing that. That sounds very laborious and wouldn't produce anything of value.
Yeah, what I would suggest that if you use Spinitron and you sign up for the audio recognition, that's why I give you a couple of weeks of free trial that you can evaluate. During those 2 weeks, ask your DJs to keep an eye on it and give you a feedback of how it's going. Some DJs come back that 100% of songs they play are recognized. Other hip hop mashups don't get recognized. So it's really up to you. If you trust your DJs, take your word for them. And currently about over 100 stations use audio recognition through Spinitron. Yeah, there are some hiccups as you can understand from the questions too, that it does recognize promos and music beds, and sometimes doesn't recognize everything. But it's worth to try, really, if you want to evaluate it for yourself. Don't take our words for it, because we don't know exactly what genres you are focusing on.
Moving on to TEDCO.
Mm-hmm.
Are we working on archiving a system that might be used to replace the sadly defunct Radio Free America? Yes, we mentioned this briefly at the start of the session.
Yeah, you can.
And I'll share my screen again to show you where you can learn a little bit more about this. Not that one, this one, share, there we go. So back into the forum, remember I mentioned this user forum where we can discuss what's going on. This is where I've got a page here that describes the service and some discussion about it. There's another page where we've got sort of like feedback and bugs and a discussion about the archive player. But basically it's a different approach from what Radio Free America has used, because they saw themselves as a platform where all the media is available under their banner and under their brand. We're not taking that approach. This would be like Spinitron is. It's sort of like more like a white label product with content that you can put on your website. So you'd be paying for it, and you can either integrate parts of web pages or whole web pages from Spinitron, and you'll get the player, which sort of looks a little bit like this. Or you can, there's an example of a station that's in trials with it. Or you will be producing a version of this player that you can use as a widget on your website.
You can actually demo it with CBC.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see if I don't like demoing stuff without
trying it out in advance.
You know what it's like, demos and all that sort of stuff. So for example, if we scroll down to here, we can see that there are these buttons which can be used to start the playlist at different times in the past, and we can navigate through all the playlists. Let's say we go through last week sometime, and let's listen to Democracy Now! On Wednesday last week and try playing that.
Democracy Now! Is a program produced
So
in New
that's
York
sort of how
City,
it works.
bringing
And,
time.
volume control there, that's awesome.
The views and opinions.
But you can also select a date and a time like this to start the player. So this is in progress at the moment. Right now, our big problem is to, right now what I'm focused on is trying to get this to work as much as possible on mobile as well. It does work in some situations, but not every phone and not every browser. And then we got to get the widget going so that you can put this on your website. And there's also some management tools that that I'm working on so that you can see how much it's being used. So you can see, you know, your monthly, daily, and weekly listening hours. You know, see the size of the audience, the aggregate size of the audience. Also to look at logs, so you can see who's been using it for, well, who's been using it, but you can see the individual clients and geographically where they're from. We want to put up also information for each past playlist for a logged on DJ to see where they were, you know, to give that sort of information about the usage of, who's listened now, how much has been listened to that particular program,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So there's a bunch more software that needs to be written before this is ready.
Yeah.
But at the moment we've got 10 stations using it. Feel free to go and check out their station. Sorry, check it out. There's actually, how would they know? Yes, well, I guess you can go to the forum, right? WZBC is definitely one of them. So just spinitron.com/WZBC will get you there.
Yeah.
And anybody else who's mentioning it here, who's piped up, say, yeah, you can try it out on my station, and you can go and check out theirs too.
Yeah, we felt really bad. We were promoting Radio Free America. We had a really good relationship with them. So we tried engaging stations to try out their service, and I was pretty aggressive, encouraging, not aggressive, but
you weren't punching anybody, right?
No. But I was pouring my heart out to try it out. And when they pulled the plug, I felt so bad. And they said, "Tom, we encourage stations to try it out." So we feel like we need to step in and come up with a solution. That
well, anyway, so yes, no problem, Ted. Happy to have you here.
Sorry to burst in here. I just wanted to let people know the next session is starting soon. We can keep this going in here for a little bit longer to try to get through the questions. The next session does start in about 5 minutes, called Electrifying Voters. So if people do want to catch that session, that is starting soon.
Yeah.
not electrocuting voters.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I mean, you can always call us, or we can set up a private Zoom if you guys are interested continuing the discussion. But let's try to go through the questions.
Let's try and do it quickly.
There are legal limitations. 2 weeks is the maximum that you can have.
2 weeks is permitted using the license for your standard live webcast. That's I included in the package. If you want to go beyond 2 weeks, then you're doing something outside of the statutory license, and you'd have to go and handle that licensing all on your own. Newer stations join the trial at this point. Talk to us. We've got 10 going. It's plenty for trialing. Really, the more important thing for us is to focus on getting this stuff ready for everybody. We're excited too. And yes, DJs were
thank you, Sharon. Thank you.
And typing them before we discovered it has been a real lifesaver. I'm very glad to hear that.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I felt. That was back in 2001 when I was writing. And decided that's enough. I'm going to write the software for this.
Yes, Simon. Yes, we have considered. We are not there technically yet.
What's the question?
We have considered the music, copyright-free music, or.
Yes, copyright-free. I mean, yes. It's complicated for us to deal with that. If you were doing that for your station, you could go ahead and take responsibility for both the technical and the legal stuff. For us as a service provider, let's say there was 100 stations that wanted to do it, it would be really hard to handle the exceptions. How to say like this one's legal, this one isn't. We could think about it.
Yeah, but it's on a longer term. We need to finish what we have started first and then move from there. and ETA for ARC soon.
Working on it hard.
Yes.
Yeah, I was having sort of like a nice late summer until this happened. Now I'm really busy again.
Yeah.
So yeah, nice to see you too.
Nice to see you. Thanks for coming. Thanks
Yeah.
all of you to come. And
Thanks,
don't
Ellie.
forget, the forum is there, and we are always here for you. So you can always approach us.
Simon
phone.
French.
Yeah.
So Simon French. Yes, what I would suggest for that is make recordings of them available on what's called Mixcloud. And then your Mixcloud recording, you can create an embed for sharing. You should go to the share embed, and then you can copy paste the thing into the episode in Spinitron, so that people who find your playlist either on Mixcloud, they can play it directly there, or they can play it in via Spinitron if they find the playlist in Spinitron. So really, for non-music stuff, your options are way open. You can, I honestly, I think Mixcloud or even SoundCloud. If there's no difficulty with the licensing of any of the material in your program, then SoundCloud works too. But I think SoundCloud is actually better for individual songs. Mixcloud is better for whole radio programs.
Yeah. Sorry, but yes, we are sorry we couldn't hang out.
There's a lot to be sorry about this year, isn't there?
Yeah, but at least we could meet via Zoom, and thanks to Sharon and WXOX organizing it.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us.
Thanks for inviting us, and enjoy the rest of the conference. And if you have any follow-up questions, we are always around. We're not traveling anywhere. So,
well, thank you. This was very informative. I learned a lot about Spinitron here, and I'm excited about some of these new features you're rolling out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for having us, and thanks for attending to our session.
We'll see you later.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Have a nice rest of your session.
Yep.